Hey everybody, Chamber here. We're going to be dark this week, but we didn't want to leave you all hanging. So we got the audio from our interview with Charles on the Crypto Entrepreneurs Podcast. He was nice enough to send us the audio, so we're just dropping it in our feed so you can have a listen. We had a great time. He's a great guy. Real interesting setup he's got over there, a little different than what we have here. So we thought you'd like it. Anyhow, check it out, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Crypto Entrepreneurs Podcast with your host, Charles. Enjoy.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 74 of the Crypto Entrepreneurs Podcast. As always, it's your host, Charles, and today we've got a great one for you. So today I'm going to be sitting down with Bunchu and Chamber. If you don't know them from Twitter, they are the co-hosts of the Rekt Podcast. These guys are a ton of fun, and I'm really looking forward to this episode. They've got a podcast similar to mine. It's a cryptocurrency podcast. And so today we're just going to be talking about, how to create a podcast, how to be successful in a specific niche. Cryptocurrency is a relatively small niche, and we have both found some success in the industry. And then we're just going to be talking about, what makes good content, how to find guests, that sort of thing, give you some tips. So if you've toyed with the idea of starting a podcast, I suggest that you go through the couple episodes I've done on creating a podcast, listen to them through, and take a crack at it. I really encourage people to get out there, start the podcast, explore it, see if it's for them. Now, before we get into the episode, I do just want to give a quick shout out to my sponsor, and that is Roundly X. I've mentioned them on previous episodes. Very grateful for them. And what they are is a service where you can link your debit or credit cards, and they will round up each one of your purchases, and your spare change gets invested into Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. For example, if you buy a pack of gum for $1.50, 50 cents of that gets rounded up. It's a $2 purchase, and that 50 cents gets invested for you. It's very similar to Acorns, but for crypto. So, I've got both. I just buy things, let the roundups happen, and it kind of lets me dollar cost average into traditional markets as well as crypto markets without putting any thought into it. So if you haven't downloaded it or haven't created an account, I highly suggest that you do now. Take the stress out of investing. There will be a link in the description below. Go create that account. Now let's get into the show. Alright guys, so before we really get into it and talk about, crypto, niche podcasting, that sort of thing, can you guys just introduce yourselves? Because I know there's two of you. I want to make sure everyone knows whose voice is whose. And then give us a quick, very brief overview of what you were doing before you found cryptocurrencies.
Sure. Chamber, you go first.
Sure. I'm Chamber, one of the co-hosts for Rekt Podcast. Prior to, the crypto nonsense we've gotten ourselves into, I'm just a regular sales marketing guy, work for a Fortune 500 company, still do that on the side. I think crypto is full time now.
On the side?
Yeah, this is on the side now. Bunch, what about you?
So I am Bunchu. I would say, one of the co-hosts of Rekt Podcast. Before I got into crypto, or how I got into crypto, I was doing a lot of, sports wagering, and that's how I kind of found Bitcoin to begin with. It was a deposit method on my sports book, and I went down the rabbit hole after I downloaded Coinbase and kind of saw what was happening to prices. Other than that, in my day job, also sales and marketing background, I work for a very large medical company, and that's what I do now on the side.
On the side?
There we go. Yeah, you started talking about the sports wagering and how you got into it, and I feel like everyone's got, a similar story of, I was doing this or that, I heard about it from a friend and then got back into it, and I'm like, I don't even want to hear about it anymore. The reason I asked about your backgrounds is I generally just like to see if, there's any crossover and you've brought anything from your previous position or life before crypto, before we all went nuts. And, so you guys are both in sales and marketing. So why'd you guys start the show? Can you give us a little rundown on what the Rekt Podcast is? Kind of let my audience who hasn't heard you before get an idea of what you guys do.
Bunch, you want to give the rundown there, Bunch?
Yeah, so we are a twice a week podcast. We typically record for Tuesday and Thursday releases. We've been going now for, we're probably almost at 150 episodes, over a year and a half we've been going. And it's been a wild ride. So we are, I would say, as we were talking before the show, we're probably a little bit of the more irreverent, leaning on, entertainment side of the crypto podcasting world. Very different than I think what you do on a day-to-day basis. You're much more, serious and knowledgeable than probably Chamber and I, but
I don't know about that one.
We like to bring the fun and bring the funny. We have, good chemistry, and we get, really good guests that are smarter than we are to kind of talk about all the things that people want to hear about. So, as a podcast host, I think you can probably relate to the quality of your guests makes the biggest difference, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I've had people on and it was just me talking the whole time. And like you were saying, I really like to kind of bring on the best of the best, or at least I try to, and kind of learn from them as we teach my audience. So I'm always, saying I'm the dumbest guy on my podcast. Everyone I bring on is kind of smarter than me.
We're the dumbest guys on our podcast. The problem is there's two of us.
Yeah, see, I've only got one of me to screw it up. And I can kind of just let my guests go for it. So more of a fun show. You guys kind of are bringing on your guests, just having talks, chit-chatting, entertainment.
Yeah, I think one of the things that kind of sets us apart too is, from that entertainment fun aspect is when we have guests on, we like to, really like to get our audience or whoever's listening to get to know the person, right? So, we're all either avatars behind a Twitter handle or just someone that you've seen in the space, but you really have that opportunity to kind of get that person to open up, right? And share a little more about, maybe outside of crypto stuff. So one of the things I think that we do is really fun is we'll research our guests, whatever, we'll talk to them before the show, and then we'll get them to play some kind of crazy, wacky game or something with us that, really, based on something they're interested in. Like, we had somebody on from a project that's a big Lakers fan, like Chamber, and we had them go head to head again in some Lakers trivia. So, fun stuff like that, isn't always all about the tech, but it's more about the person behind, the crypto personality,
Yeah, and I think the audience loves to hear that kind of stuff, really get into who the person is, not just what they know. And I'm a little bit jealous. You guys get to have a lot more fun. I'm over here being Mr. Serious on my podcast.
You can come fuck around with us on ours sometime.
Exactly. I mean, cause I think you guys...
Anytime.
I would love to, one. And two, I think you guys have seen me on Twitter, and I would say a lot more fun on Twitter versus on the podcast. For
listen, if I'm going to
Chamber, you want to address this one?
This has been just eating at me since I started listening to your podcast. And for the record, your podcast has made it into my rotation. I usually only listen to about 2 or 3 crypto podcasts.
Take it out. It's no good.
You are in, sir.
Charles, he listens to 2 or 3 crypto podcasts, and one of them is ours on repeat.
Right. Absolutely.
Got the biggest ego in the space.
I don't know how you listen to your voice back and enjoy it. I hate listening to my voice back.
It's maybe one of the greatest moments of my day is when I get to hear my own voice.
Goodness gracious.
But keep going, Chambers.
No,
This has been bothering you.
I was so frustrated until I started listening, because I was anticipating your show being very similar to ours. Just, with your Twitter personality, I'm like, this guy, I felt a kinship with you right away. I think I've said it on our show. I'm like, Charles is getting the attention I should be getting. I said, we're parallel thoughts here.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I gotta listen to this guy's podcast. I'm like, I'm gonna love it. It's gonna be right up my alley. And I do, and it is, but for completely different reasons. I thought for sure you were gonna have some sort of, fun
joke,
yeah,
jokey.
exactly. A little bit more, I would say a little edgier, I thought it would be high entertainment, low, knowledge.
Yeah.
And it's high knowledge, and it threw me for a loop, but then I started listening, and now I'm subscribed and I'm listening every time. So good job. You gave me the bait and switch, and I'm involved. So.
Yeah, I feel
job.
like I appreciate that. Thank you so much, from two guys who are absolutely killing it. I'm honored for you guys to say that and for it to be in your rotation. These are two sides of me, but they're like very much me. Like I love my Twitter persona. It's very much me. I like to joke around. I like to have fun. I like to poke fun at things. But I also, am very into business, finance, went to school and studied finance, was working as an underwriter, as an analyst after college, working with businesses. So that also really gets my, blood pumping. And so I wanted to figure out how to incorporate both. And I'm slowly blending the two. Like I just had Bicklow on. I've got you guys on. It's a little bit more fun, but while keeping a serious tone. And I think that's been my biggest problem is there's such a divide that people either love my Twitter persona or they love my podcast, very serious podcast. So I'm trying to bridge that gap, and I feel like
I think the move is to keep it the way it is. I think the duality of your personalities, one on Twitter and one on the podcast, I think it's very unique, and I think that's a good way to go about it.
It's really funny you say that, because I'm thinking about us, right? We're kind of like that, right? You
100%.
you tweet and act like Charles's Twitter account, and I tweet and act like Charles's podcast.
100%.
See,
So
you guys get to do it as one. I have to kind of split myself into two.
I think as Bunchu said, I think you have a standing invitation to our show. Anytime you feel the need to let loose on a crazy shit talking podcast, you can come on ours anytime.
We got to get that scheduled. I'm working my ass off like a madman. I'm trying to put out an episode a day until the year ends.
You're crazy.
Woo! I know. I'm a psychopath.
Just do reruns. We're doing reruns right now. You just put one out and then do a rerun. It's podcast magic.
I love it. And, no, I mean, like, I was talking to you guys before I hopped on and I slept through an interview, so I'm slowly losing my mind and definitely not staying on top of it.
Yeah, I think, just from experience, what we've found is, it's hard to, after, a year and a half and 150 episodes, it's hard to keep getting new guests, right? Like, I think, would you say the same thing, Chamber?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, you definitely got to pace your guests out, because we go pretty hard. Like when we first started, we went pretty hard as well. And, we were starting like 2 guests a week. And then we're like, well, we're going to run out of guests soon. So we kind of tailed it back to 1 per week. And, we've had people on a couple of times. It hasn't been too bad. But for the most part, we try to keep a fresh guest. And, we felt like, if you're doing 1 per week, you can kind of get away with it.
It's probably way harder for you because you're solo. So
oh my goodness,
need a guest, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about doing 1 single episode by myself, and I'd put something out about it on Twitter. But I do need a guest to kind of get their area of expertise, because like I was saying, I'm kind of an idiot and can't really, be super formal and have a solo podcast. So yeah, that is a huge concern of mine. I feel like eventually I am going to run out of guests. I think I'm like 65 episodes out, and then I have, a stockpile of maybe 10, so I'm like 75 episodes. I was doing 2 a week. I decided to get crazy, see where it goes, and I'll dial it back if needed. It probably will happen sometime next year. But it's good to know that you guys quickly ran out of guests, and I'm probably going to be doing the same.
Yeah, we really started going kind of outside of the CT pool.
Yeah, that's my plan.
And you know what? I love having people from Twitter on like that. Those are my favorite shows. But like we have one coming up in the new year. I think we could probably talk about it a bunch.
Yeah, I'm pumped about this one.
It's Zachary Ty Bryan. I don't know if you remember him. He was the oldest brother from Home Improvement.
I definitely do not remember him.
So I don't know how old you are. I might be a little bit older, but yeah, Home Improvement was a big staple when I was a kid.
Okay.
And the oldest brother from Home Improvement apparently is into crypto now.
Got it.
So we have him coming on the show. So for those of you people listening right now, if you're kind of in your 30s, you probably know who I'm talking about. He was on all the Teen Dream covers and stuff.
He totally was.
100%. I'm thinking of a segment to do with him, and I think it's going to have something to do with was it a teen magazine or not? And we'll give him a bunch of different names.
Oh, that's great.
Isn't that good? I was thinking about that today. So I think that's going to be one of the segments we do with him if he's game. I wanted to stay away from the Home Improvement stuff as much as possible.
He probably
I'm sure that's all he talks about.
Yeah, exactly. Well, man, you guys, so you guys are really branching out. I've been thinking about doing, more traditional finance traders, financial planners, that kind of thing. Anything that kind of touches on, the finance scene. But I know I'm going to run out of guests eventually. And then I'm going to have to figure out what I want to do. Maybe then it'll turn into something less serious, but who knows?
To be honest, there's more projects coming out every day. Like there's new stuff. Like it replenishes fairly quickly. You're probably at about a 70% replenish rate. So if you just pump the brakes a little bit, you'll get new people on the scene.
Yeah.
That you'll want to interview.
Yeah. See, here's the problem: is I'll have people on, and then their business will go under, and
that does happen.
I've got them on the podcast talking about how they're this successful business, and then
it's one of your 10 stashed episodes that is no longer relevant.
Exactly. But okay, man,
it's pretty funny. So I was just going to say what we didn't cover was how the show started. Chamber, you want to cover that real quick?
I was going to try to swing it back into that question actually. So thank you.
Sorry. Yeah. We warned Charles that we're sometimes hard to rein in.
No, that's okay.
So as far as the show goes, it's actually like, what do they call it? Serendipitous? Is that the correct term? Kismet? Yeah. I listen, we both listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of crypto podcasts prior to the show. And I was listening to, I think it was probably like Crypto Street or something like that. And, they had one guy on, I think it was Sherlock. You guys know Sherlock from Twitter?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, he was telling us a great story about how he got just absolutely wrecked in crypto. And I was like, this is the best part of any of the shows I listen to are the interviews with the people where they're talking about how they got, screwed over in 2015 or even 2017. But I'm like, that's a really good idea. And it gives like the one that happened to him was in 2015 and he was still in it and, came out the other side, smelling like roses. And I'm like, that gives people a lot of hope. And at the time, it was spring, like beginning of summer 2018, everybody's just, in the depths of hell right now.
Absolutely wrecked.
Absolutely wrecked. And I'm like, and I put a tweet out and I say, idea for a podcast, a show where people, it's called Rekt Podcast. People just tell their wreck stories and how they got wrecked in the past in crypto. I'm like, I think I said, it's going to have, 2 guys and a girl. And I think that's a really good idea. And I think within 10 minutes, Bunchu, who I knew a little bit from Twitter, the only reason I knew him.
We had never had a conversation.
Never once had a conversation. I had heard him on Crypto Street podcast as like what was the segment they were doing when you were there?
They kind of do like, so they were doing regular guests like, we would do or Charles would do. And then they would have somebody on from like Twitter who was relatively new to the space versus what their normal guests were.
That was the only way I knew who you were. And Bunchu had DM'd me within like 10 minutes. It's like, this is a great idea. We should do it. And at the time, we were looking for a third person, being a female, because there was a bunch of two bros with beards doing podcasts.
Yeah.
Like, I think we need that third dynamic.
We didn't want to upset Andreas.
Right. Potentially Andreas coming to the show. We wanted to make sure we were diverse enough.
You gotta hit your quota.
Exactly. Right. So we had Cynthia. I don't know if you remember Cynthia, but she's at Women of Crypto on Twitter. And she was our third, and we
recorded the first episode within 3 days.
Within 3 days, yeah, exactly. And we had to run. The three of us had to run just over a year, and then Cynthia, she has her own crypto company now that she had to kind of spend a bit more time with. So just Bunchu and I. Yeah, it's been great. It's been absolutely fantastic.
The idea just kind of hit you guys, and a couple days later you're recording. I liked it.
It was crazy. Like, Bunchu had sent me, like, within like a day or two, he's like, "Oh, check this out. This could be our intro." And who's your buddy? Tell him the story about your buddy for the intro.
One of my friends was on the CBS show Big Brother. And he's a buddy of mine from college, and he's very into music, and he makes his own music and does very well with that. And I just texted him, and I'm like, "Hey, I got this podcast, blah, blah, blah. I'm starting it up. Would you make us an intro?" He's like, "What do you want it to sound like?" And I gave him like 3 things. He sent me that, and it was done in a day. And I was like, "Oh, this is fucking cool."
Like, this sounds like a real intro to a real show. So yeah, no, it was great. I mean, the speed in which it came together was insane. We had our first guest. I think we had, within our first 6 episodes, I think on the 6th episode was it John McAfee?
Yeah, 6 episodes.
It was crazy. It was crazy how fast everything kind of came
together. You guys saw a lot more success than I did at first. I was reaching out to everybody and anybody and getting told, fuck off by half of them at least.
Really?
Yeah, I just finally secured the McAfee interview today. I had him on this morning at like 10 a.m. and I know we talked about that before the show, but I want to brag to my audience for a quick second here.
No big deal.
Yeah, it's a big interview when McAfee comes on. We had him on twice, so we just had him on again recently. I would say he's now a hashtag friend of the show.
Yeah, definitely.
I like that. See, I've had 2 people, or only one person so far that I've done a repeat episode on, and I don't know how
honestly, those are fun. I like the repeats. I like when people come on multiple times.
I really like who I had on too. I mean, a lot of people very much dislike this guy, but it was Reptar. I don't know if you guys know Reptar on Twitter.
I love Reptar.
Yeah, so you guys know my show is very serious. I actually had him on for 2 pretty serious episodes. I don't know how we made it work. One of them was on like censorship resistance, and the second one was on monetizing social media content and how to do it in a quote unquote non-cringe, non-grifter way. So I actually got him to be serious for a second. But it's a lot of fun having guests on twice. You really get a feel for who they are the first time around, and then you get to kind of have a little bit more fun the second time. But okay, so that was your guys' backgrounds and then how the show kind of came to be. You guys have very much found your stride, and it seems like you did it very quickly. So I want to get into it a little bit more, and kind of, cause you've seen success in this niche industry. It's very niche, not many people know about cryptocurrencies. Even fewer are actually involved in listening to podcasts and kind of getting involved in the community. So can you kind of walk us through how to see success in a niche industry, as someone who hosts a podcast, or 2 people that host a podcast?
Yeah, I'll take that one. I mean, it's, you have to, I mean, depending on how you're doing it. So obviously we, Bunchu and I, have each other to play off of. It would be totally different for me if I had to do it on my own. So I couldn't really give too much advice on that end. But if you do have someone you're doing the show with, I think finding somebody, whose personalities just sync as much as possible. Like Bunchu said, we had never spoken, or, DM'd each other, prior to this tweet I had put out. And we literally, the first time we chatted together, it was just like, okay, I get it. We're on the same page. We have the exact same sense of humor, but we're different enough where, his personality is a bit more bearish and my personality is a bit more, verbose, and egotistical. And we just, we call each other, like the bull and the bear, like the yin and the yang. And, it's super fun. But yeah, just finding somebody, that you can do it with, if you are doing it with a partner, somebody that's going to be, consistent. I think that was another key thing for the two of us is, we set out and, we have a schedule. We got a calendar. We do calendar invites. We try and run
official.
Yeah, we try to run as tightly as possible. Both of us being from business backgrounds. We kind of have that in implemented in us already. And we're just taking that into, the crypto world, where, to be perfectly honest, there's not a lot of that. So even if you have a little bit of, stick-to-itiveness and, do it yourself isms, you'll be able to do pretty well pretty quickly. So as long as you stay consistent, find somebody that you can do it with.
I think the niche thing is interesting, right? Because, obviously we're in a very, I would say, small niche, but it goes for, like you said, any topic. I think it's about, building yourselves up within the community and participating in the community as much as you can. I think with, also with, me and Chamber both kind of having, sales and marketing backgrounds, that helped us, right? Because we kind of knew how to just naturally get ourselves out there and network, and I think that helped.
I need your help with that.
Yeah, I think that helped us a lot, right? Yeah. Like we have done that in kind of all the projects and stuff that we've been working on. I think that really helped. I think also, like you said, one, get the guests, right? The guests are going to bring in your audience naturally, right? So you're going to have, like you said, John McAfee on, right? McAfee will go out and retweet your podcast, and you might gain, 10, 15, 20 new subscribers off of your podcast because they came from McAfee, but they're going to stay for your show, right? And so getting the best guests is probably the number one, thing you can do to start up, right? Because obviously that's hard, because if you're a startup and nobody knows you, it takes hustle. But like you said, the more and more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it, right? So we were just relentless. We got McAfee on our 6th episode, and it was because we were kind of relentless about it. And so I would say then the next tip too is cross promote, right? Mm-hmm. So like kind of like what we're doing now, right? We're on your show, or we're on, Bitcoin and Beards, and the same thing is they listen to that show, but they might find us entertaining and go look for us and seek us out, right? So I would say that those, and again, no matter what industry you're in or what niche you're in, I think those are two big, easy step one tips that you can kind of start building your listener base on. And then I would say the third is like consistency, if I had to make a third point, right? So, you see some of these crypto podcasts out there that are, or any like niche podcast where they'll put out an episode 1 week, they'll put out an episode 2 weeks from now, they'll put out an episode 2 days from the last one they put out, and there's no consistent schedule. I think if you can, put a consistent schedule out there where, people are expecting your content, I think that's a big thing as well.
100%. I think you guys hit on all of the big ones there. You started with, it's going to be tough when you first start because no one really knows who you are. There's no reason for them to come on. So it's kind of, double-edged sword, or like twofold there. Your bigger guests don't want to come on because it's like, what is this podcast? Which I struggled with a little bit. And then 2, people just don't know to listen to it because they're like, I've never seen this guy. The guests are mediocre. So I think the biggest thing for anyone who's trying to start any kind of niche podcast is to, like you were saying, really get immersed in the community first. So, make a name for yourself, talk with the people in the community, And then when you start your podcast, you have these kind of relationships to draw on, and you can bring them on straight from the start. Like you guys said, you were relentless. You got John on in, on your 6th episode. It's 65 for me before I got him on. And the guests are starting to pick up. And I'm not trying to discredit any of my previous guests. They've all had something wonderful to teach the community, and they're all very different in, their own unique way. But I think just now it's, been about a year. I've started to really establish myself in the industry, and people are more willing to come on. And then, this idea of cross promotion, I feel like so many people are kind of iffy on the idea, especially in niche industries, because
I have my opinions on that.
Yeah. I mean, well, cause people are like, oh, there's only so much airtime that people are going to want to, devote to a cryptocurrency podcast. But I think in our case, I'm a little bit more professional. You guys like to have a little bit more fun. Mine's on business. Your guys is, general technology and the industry. So I think there is enough space, and, if you're doing something unique and different, you are able to do that cross promotion. Your thoughts on it? Cause you said you had some idea on it.
Chambers got a good opinion on this.
So, I mean, I would say I love doing cross promotion because I love talking and like Bunchu said, getting some exposure for the show on other shows. So ideally, some of the people that are listening, who love your show for what it is, may have a little bit more time to spend with us as well.
I pray to God they do.
And getting two completely different things. But I would argue this. I would say even if our shows were, parallel, like, pretty similar in style, but, the own unique thing, but, similar category, we'll say. I would say it's up to the host or the show itself to maintain their audience. If they're worried about losing, if they're worried about losing listeners to a competing show, it's really on them to just make their show as good as it can be. That's why I love going on other people's shows. I love having people on our show because I know Bunchu and I, we're going to be in it 100%, and we're consistently going to provide at least as best as we can do a quality show. And so we have no fear of losing our current listenership. And if we do lose any, it's our own fault for losing them because we weren't providing what they wanted. So I love cross promotion. I think everybody that has a quality show should be doing it. And like I said, yours is quality. So I wouldn't hesitate for you to go on anybody else's show and promote your show because you offer something really, really, beneficial, I think, to what people are looking for in crypto.
Oh, I appreciate that very much. And you guys should get worried because when I come on, I'm planning on stealing everybody who listens to your show.
But I think to Chambers' point though, I think you do have time for all of it, right? It's, maybe they'll skip their fantasy football podcast for that day because when people get, as much as this is a business in a sense, like crypto's a hobby for a lot of people, right? So, and people get immersed in their hobbies, right? So like I know other hobbies that I'm into, I have 6 or 7 podcasts for each one of those hobbies downloaded, and I listen to most of them all the time. So like, I know that I have capacity for, more than one show for a certain niche. And, I would think most of the people out there who actually listen to podcasts, now that's a whole different story on, how big is the podcast market, period. I don't think it's, do podcast listeners have time to listen to more podcasts? I think it's how do you get more people to listen to podcasts? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I know there's a small subset of the, niche industry, which is cryptocurrencies, that even cares to listen to podcasts. I've talked to so many people who are like, nah, I don't waste my time. Like, I don't find any value in it. So I think you're very much right there.
What we've found too is that so many people get their content from like YouTube instead, right?
Yeah.
So like it's not even that they don't find value in it. It's that they're just using other mediums. And so, okay, which, but YouTube's super saturated, right? Like everybody and their brother's got a YouTube page.
That's true.
But,
I don't feel YouTube's, even as, usable as a podcast. Like, if you put YouTube on your phone, you know what I mean? You can't lock your phone, put it in your pocket, or go onto Twitter. You know what I mean? I can listen to a podcast, go on to Twitter, check, do whatever I want. But you really can't do that with YouTube. So that one was always a head scratcher for me.
I know. Same to me. I actually just very recently got onto YouTube. And I don't know if you guys know the Repurpose app or website.
Yes.
Yeah, so
we're big fans.
That's what I'm using, and it makes it pretty easy. It just gets thrown on there. I create some shitty thumbnail to catch people's attention.
Yours looks very similar to ours.
Yeah. Right?
I told you we were similar.
Yeah, no, we are. And so, I'm just starting to explore YouTube myself, but I think this gets into a much bigger, an important idea, which is to get out on as many sites as possible. Each time I add a new platform, I can see that more users are coming in from that platform. Whether it was YouTube, just recently I got everything on SoundCloud.
I saw your tweet today about that.
Yeah.
Or yesterday, whenever it was. I think that's a good point too, because put it out everywhere, and then the way you'll know you're doing a good job is exactly what you just said, right? People are coming to ask you, hey, why isn't it on X? And then you're like, oh shit, I actually have people listening. You know what I mean?
Well, so what happened was, I don't know if you guys know what many links is, but you can you can add all of your links to one link, and so when people click on it, they can go see, it's on YouTube, wherever else, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, that kind of thing. And I had created the SoundCloud, and I had put one episode on. It was just the intro episode. And from the many links, you can see how many people have clicked on each type of link. And as soon as I put the
Take notes, Chamber.
Yeah.
You guys noted.
You guys got to get on this, because it's really easy to do it on Twitter, where you can blast out a single tweet with every single link. So I don't know if you guys have seen my format lately. It's like a little video clip and then the link, and people have been hitting me up saying, hey, we really enjoy this. It gives us a little idea of what the episode's about, and then we can go click on whichever link we want, versus having to go find it.
I gotta figure out how you get your clips to 2 minutes. I feel like I only got mine to 30 seconds.
OBS, I just record, once it gets uploaded to YouTube, just record it. I can record for however long, and then obviously just clip it down to 2 minutes.
I see. Interesting.
So
I'm taking notes. Yes, I'm taking copious notes here.
Yeah, please steal my audience from me with all these tips and tricks.
Hear that, John? I'm coming for you, buddy. I'm just freaked out at John right now.
But back to what I was originally saying, I saw that there was interest in SoundCloud. So you can kind of test out different links, different platforms. People will obviously hit you up, hey, why isn't it on this one? So just get out there. There are people that are finding my podcast on Apple Podcasts that don't know me on Twitter. It's same on YouTube. There's some crowd that's getting pulled from YouTube that, doesn't know me on Twitter, which is great because my Twitter is a mess. And then lastly, I think everyone needs a website. I'm preaching this right now. I don't have a website at the moment, but New Year's 2020, I'm going to have a website. It's going to feature every single one of my guests. I think if you're not doing that as a podcast host, unless you're doing solo episodes, even then I think you should have a website. But I think that is essential. You can really track and monitor everything. You can personalize it. Get on it if you don't. To anyone who's listening who wants to start a podcast. And that's, there's so much more we could go into, and we could talk for 3 days straight about how to make your podcast successful. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to bore my guests to death. So instead, I always like to ask my guests this. What are you guys most excited for in the coming 12 months? Does the Rekt Podcast have anything big in its pipeline?
Ooh, we do.
I know you guys talked about that. One guy from Home Improvement, I forget his name.
Bigger and better.
Oh, bigger and better. All right, let's hear what you guys got.
Chamber, you wanna talk about this? I think you're the one to
Yeah, I mean, we've been working with. Is it a consortium? Is that what we call it?
Yes, a mishmash.
A mishmash of people in Twitter. I'd say for the last couple of months now. We've been putting together a network of kind of what we're talking about, YouTube streamers and Twitch streamers and podcasters, and we're essentially making a network out of all these, great shows. And we're going to have a central location, kind of what we were talking about, like website. We do have a Rekt Podcast website.
Of course, yeah.
Check that. This website will have links to and videos, and you'll be able to watch everything right on the website for all these different great shows. I guess we can talk about a couple of them.
I would say let's throw out the website.
The website. So the company itself and the website is coinhq.tv. The website is, I would say, it's definitely live. I feel
you can go to it.
You can absolutely go to it.
Hold on, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I know. I get
still
nitpicky.
Working out the kinks.
I get nitpicky with it. Yes, it is pretty good. Yeah. So on there, you'll be able to see shows like Shitcoin Talk, Crypto Weekly. Our friends across the pond and over in England doing a great weekly crypto news show. We got our
boys
friends
from Hashrate.
We have Roy Blackstone. He's going to be doing a show on there. We got Amber.
Not so fast.
We got Not So Fast. We got Bagsy.
I'm jealous right now. Where's my invite? I'm gonna make things really awkward right now.
This is. I was going to say we're going to make
join the fun.
Absolutely, yeah. This is a network, man. We're not looking to shut the door on anybody. So, no, it's definitely not awkward. We're looking for quality shows.
I'll weasel my way in there. I wouldn't call my show quality, but
without a doubt, I could see it happening. So, so this is what we're looking to launch. Ideally, and it looks like we're going to be
January, hopefully.
Yeah, January. I think that's what we're working on. That's a big project.
That's massive. That is.
We've been working on it for months. So coinhq.tv, Charles, go check out the website.
I'll have a link in the description for anyone who wants to go check that out. Please, I encourage anyone.
It's not crappy. Chamber just sold it real
I'm underselling it. It's amazing. I want people to be impressed when they go to it. They're like, "Oh, Chamber was really shitting on it."
The idea is eventually. So right now it's going to be, as Chamber said, kind of a network where it's a one-stop shop for all these shows, right? Because, from a business standpoint, and this is something we haven't really gotten into yet, but I know that you have dabbled in this arena for, sponsorship and everything, where how can we make this hobby into a business, right? So the idea is power in numbers, right? So we take all these very high content, high quality, high listenership and viewership shows, and we bundle together so that we can, kind of use our networking power to, be more attractive and power in numbers kind of thing, right? So that's kind of what it is right now. The idea behind it in the future is literally going to be a 24/7 live content streaming type of network, right? So where we'll have somebody broadcasting their show in a time slot every, moment of the day, right? So you can watch whenever, wherever, so that's the big idea. And it's coming to fruition slowly. But that's
exactly. We're in phase 1 right now. That's probably phase 2, phase 3. Ideally, down the road, we're looking at possibly an app as well, where you can just download it to your phone, and all of these goodies are there at your fingertips. You can watch, live streams. You can watch reruns. You can listen to podcasts right from your device. So that'd be probably phase 2, phase 3, along with the live streaming. So, but phase 1, like Bunchu said, just a network of great shows, a one-stop shop. So if you do like, our show, you may find, like I said, we got Hashrate on there if you're into mining.
Coming soon, crypto entrepreneur.
Absolutely. So, so that's the idea.
So you guys,
Charles, what are you most excited about in the next 12 months?
This podcast is going to become the #1 podcast. I don't know if you've seen Peter imploding on Twitter.
Oh boy.
I'm gunning for that. Yeah. I don't know if you guys, I I don't agree with a lot of what Peter does, but I think he has the most successful podcast in the industry. And so, you know,
I think it's without a doubt.
Yeah.
Definitely the most successful one.
Him and probably Pomp and then, Laura.
I think,
Laura Shen. Yeah, Laura Chen's doing well too.
Exactly. So those are like the three big ones right there. But he is kind of falling apart on Twitter. For anyone who doesn't know, like he's, I go on Twitter and figure it out. I don't want to bring drama to the show, but I'm gunning for his spot right now. So that's my big plan. You guys know I've announced it on Twitter multiple times. I'm going to be doing an episode a week or a day until.
So are you looking to usurp, Peter? Is that what, in that style?
That's his goal.
I would say your style is pretty darn similar, right? You know, I remember listening to Peter's podcast, you know, back before we started ours. And it's kind of a similar approach, very professional into the real nitty gritty of crypto.
I would say the difference is the spectrum of people that you have on. Peter has a very specific niche within a niche of people.
So he's like kind of leaders of industry.
What Peter did for Charles. That's what we're going to name the podcast.
He taught me how to pass him up.
Pomp just passed 2 million downloads this year too. So
that's insane.
He's up there.
So many downloads.
That's
insane. A lot.
Yeah. So I think they're faking their numbers, to be honest with you.
Is that fake volume?
I think so, man. I don't know if you guys are cool with getting into it and talking some smack, but
I know Bunchu isn't, but I definitely am.
Yeah. So I mean, I look at Pomp's Twitter numbers when he posts a podcast. Yes. The likes and the retweets.
That's a very good point.
We've taken a look at some of that stuff for other people as well. And we're like, there's no way these numbers are exactly what they say.
Yeah.
Or,
so then I go to, for example.
Or the followers aren't.
Oh, no, definitely not. I know the bigger accounts are buying followers in mass. But less important, you know, more back to the numbers is, I don't think that many people are interested in listening to, you know, people talk about cryptocurrencies. 1. 2, you go to Pomp's YouTube. He had Catherine, I don't know her last name, it's like Cooley, CEO.
Oh, Kathy Cooley.
Yes, Kathy, right?
I just made it up, I'm sorry.
The confidence.
Yeah, you sounded very confident. She's the CEO of Binance USA, or Binance America.
Yep.
I go to their YouTube channel, I go to Pomp's YouTube channel, and it's got maybe 800 views on the video. And these are two of the big names in the industry at the moment. So I think, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not all coming from Apple Podcasts and his website. But I think if you're talking 2 million downloads, you know, more than 1,000 per episode would be coming from YouTube.
And to be honest, if we're really looking at it, I'm not aware of, like he posted an image of that 2 million. I don't know what program he's using to generate those, like that graphic.
He's using Excel.
Is that, I don't know. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know
idea.
where this number is coming from. Cause I use, you know, we have a way of checking our numbers. We use, you know, like Chartable. I think that's what it's called too. And, you know, our platforms.
We're huge in, where are we?
Brunei, I think.
Yeah, we're gigantic over there. We're like the number one podcast in like Latvia.
It's fun. Yeah. So it's interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I'm gunning for the top spot in 2020.
Good for you.
That's
as you should be.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to. I want to bring in, you know, more people. I want to get more people because I think there's a huge opportunity for entrepreneurs out there who don't really know too much about cryptocurrencies to kind of learn how to build the businesses around them. Because I'm not, you know, the most tech savvy person. I don't know enough about the tech. I've, you know, learned along the way and I do my research and try to, you know, pick up as much as I can. But I think my specialty is, you know, having conversations with business owners. I kind of understand how businesses run. And I want to bring those people who are, you know, not super into cryptocurrencies into this industry that I believe is about to explode. So we'll see what happens with the, you know, coming 12 months. But, Peter, Pomp, I'm gunning for you.
See, like, there's a little bit of that Twitter bravado.
That's what I want to see, man. I'm telling you, We are same but different.
Yeah. So I mean, I get to have a little more fun with you guys. It really all is dependent on my guests. You guys are a little bit more laid back. You like to have a little bit more fun, but I think we've talked about a lot of serious stuff today. So it's kind of that mix, and it's
where we trick people. We trick people like that all the time. All of a sudden, they go, "Oh, I think we learned something today."
Those guys aren't as dumb as they appear.
Right? Exactly. So sorry to kind of cut this short. We are approaching the 1 hour mark, and I do have another interview. But I do like to ask, these two questions, one of them, what are you most excited for? And then I've been getting back to this question, which is, say the Rekt podcast disappeared. You didn't have the audience that you had, no episodes, and you had to start all over. What is the very first thing you would do to get back to where you guys are at today and the success that you've seen with the Rekt podcast?
Man, that's an interesting one.
Do we know each other?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
We know. I was going to say follow at Chamber, or follow at Chamber Rekt. Yeah, it's a good question. All right. So what do you think, Chamber?
You know me, I think everything we do is gold. I would just do exactly what we did to begin with.
Which is what? Just for my audience.
Yeah, I mean, I can't stress this enough. Finding somebody like Bunchu, who is so similar and in work ethic, I think was really, really key, is just finding somebody, that shares your enthusiasm and shares your work ethic. And it will work. It will work as long as you're passionate, about what you're doing. And you have, if you are doing something like that where you're doing with somebody else, find somebody that has that equal passion and work ethic, you're going to fly.
What about sorry to cut you off there. What about for like the solo podcast or like myself? Like say there's someone out there.
Bunch, you can take that one.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I think the networking and the community. So like obviously, we were lucky to find each other, but if you're doing this on your own, it's, create that network, get entrenched in the community, participate, because if you're out there participating, more people are going to be on your side and they're going to help. It always goes back to, don't be the smartest guy in the room, right? Associate yourself with people that can add value to what you're doing and see value in what you're doing, and don't try to do it all yourself. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I mean, we've done things, we've asked for help on, how the hell do we record?
I can't
seriously,
edit audio.
Right? Yeah. How do we do this? What the hell is OBS? And it's things that you've had to, ask along the way but you don't have those contacts if you're not out there participating and trying to be part of this community and making networks and connections. And I think, we just spent a couple minutes ragging on Peter, but originally he was somebody that we went and asked
100%.
He's been helpful.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He's been super helpful. He's always
and he's
to
not
help.
afraid to help. Right. So, I know we just spent a couple minutes just poking fun at him, but he was a great resource for us.
Of course.
But so it's I think that's the other thing is don't always look at, the other podcasts or in your space as competition. We talked about the cross promoting aspect. That's one. Some of our most fun episodes have been that. Two, it helps. It helps just build and learn from each other. And I think there is enough space or enough room for everybody, right? I know everybody says, oh, not another crypto podcast or whatever, but not all podcasts or crypto podcasts even are created equal, right? They're all going to offer something a little different. They're all going to have different hosts with different chemistry, with different guests, with different things. And, so I think that just asking for, help and resources is something that really helped for us in the beginning too. And, like Chambers said too, the work ethic thing is huge. It's a grind to do this.
It really is.
It's a grind. I mean, it's almost like a second full-time job for us to do all this stuff. And I've been lucky because Chamber, works majoritively from home. So a lot of the stuff he can do, I'm out traveling most of the week.
But you're a road warrior. Like this guy packs his microphone.
I pack my mic. I pack my computer. I pack all this stuff to go record on the road in Hampton Inns in the middle of nowhere. And so like, it's part of it. You have to.
You're dedicated.
You have to commit to it, and you have to stick and be consistent. And I think that's kind of, the big keys to what has made us, semi-successful and what we would do, successful. And what we would do again the same way if we had to.
Yeah. So understand that this is going to be work when you're kind of starting it. It's not just going to be all fun and games. And then network with the community. I know we talked about it previously in the episode, but I really wanted to drill it into my audience's head, which is why I asked for, what would you do first? So yeah, really network. You meet a lot of great people, ask questions. Big shout out to Euclid and Oaks. They were very helpful when I started mine. I asked them, how do you guys have this set up? They were like, this is exactly what we use. This is the equipment we use. And I think everyone's very willing to help, especially in these niche industries where it's more of a passion and a hobby than it is, work or something like that.
Right.
So great tips for anyone who's out there who's listening who wants to start a podcast. If you have any questions, you can reach out to myself 100%. I'm sure these guys would be more than happy to help.
Absolutely. One last point too is like, we started this because it was something we were interested in and it was fun for us, right? So I would say whatever you do, keep the show true to yourself and what drove you to do it in the first place, right?
Yeah, do what you know because a lot more.
Yeah, and because it's authentic, right? If we tried to come and be the tech experts, you would hate our show, right? Like you wouldn't like it, and that's not what we were good at, right? So, just keep the thing, like keep true to yourself and authentic as well. I would say is a huge part of success, because once you get an audience, a following, they came to you because of your style and your authenticity, and that's what's going to keep people,
Yeah, if you're not enjoying it, it definitely becomes work. I've talked to one person in particular who has a podcast, a crypto podcast, and they were saying that, it's starting to feel more like work and not something that they really enjoy anymore. And so they're toying with the idea of scrapping it completely, which I hate to see, because they run a wonderful podcast. So I really appreciate it, guys, and I'm sorry again to cut you off. I do have this next interview.
Somebody has to.
No, we could chit chat for forever. I'm very much enjoying myself right now. I've learned a lot. I hope my audience has as well. To everyone who's listening, I will have links to these guys' Twitter accounts, to the coinhq.tv. I'll have a link to pretty much everything. You can go check out all their stuff. Please don't leave me for them. I'm
just add us to your portfolio of crypto podcasts.
I don't even care if you listen, just subscribe.
Yeah, honestly, just the subscribes are good. That's fine. And give us a 5-star review.
Yeah, go do the same for me, guys, because I am lacking on that myself. I'm glad you brought it up, so I don't have to beg for it.
I gave you a 5-star review the other day for the record. If you got one from
I have
Canada,
to go do that. I will go do that immediately after this.
I'm sending mine your way. We can, like, this network effect right here, man. We can all work together and we can all make some money. But okay, guys, thank you very much. I really appreciate you coming on.
No problem. Don't get wrecked, and that is financial advice.
Really appreciate it. All right, that wraps up another episode. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I just want to take a quick second to remind you to leave us a review and subscribe to the show. We would greatly appreciate it if you did. And we look forward to seeing you next episode.